We're about to see what happens when the world's oldest and most complicated story gets the Nolan treatment. Considering Hollywood is so bereft of ideas that even adaptations have adaptations these days, it's remarkable that we've only seen the Odyssey in a Simpsons episode.
It's coming from that island. Let's steer heedlessly towards it.
But very quickly, people realized that this film was gonna be everything wrong with Hollywood. Because they're not just seeing the Odyssey get the Nolan treatment, and people aren't that annoyed about seeing the Odyssey get the Hollywood treatment either. The problem is that we're seeing Christopher Nolan give his own work the Hollywood treatment, and that's a real worry. Because for decades, Nolan has resisted trends in the film industry that have led to poorer quality films, populated with celebrities instead of actors. He's been the one guy in Hollywood that we've always trusted to deliver films that feel like monuments to storytelling, all without ever compromising his artistic talent. He could do a superhero franchise and make it sophisticated. He can roll out blockbusters that have a profound impact on the audience. He spent years crafting extraordinary scripts and hired serious actors whether they had a social media presence or not. He was the guy without the phone and the computer, the one guy seemingly uncompromised by the Hollywood industry. So really, this film, The Odyssey, should be a match made in heaven, a masterpiece in the hands of a creative genius. For starters, Christopher Nolan apparently used the feminist translation of the text by the author and academic Emily Wilson. And it gets even worse when you realize there have been some 60 translations over the years, and this one is the most brutal and least romantic. But when people started seeing the trailers and the new announcements, we realized something strange was going on. Now so far, the early reviews are good, really good. Critics who actually sat through the whole film are calling it a triumph, with some of the strongest words yet on a Nolan project. But knowing how the Hollywood industry works, this can often be a bad sign for the audiences. But even if we say this film is good, the backlash to it and the trailer aren't a verdict on the film at all. Because it's for a different reason that the trailer has got a massive amount of dislikes. Hundreds of thousands of dislikes. The first time in Christopher Nolan's career. You see, this entire project had detonated before anyone outside a press screening had seen a single frame. Because The Odyssey, whether a good film or not, really represents a symbol of Hollywood decay. A symbol of why nobody wants to watch blockbuster movies compared to independent ones these days. How no one cares about A-list celebrities. And how everyone's sick of the virtue signaling constantly coming from Hollywood. You see, this is so bad that this reaction to Christopher Nolan is unprecedented. When Interstellar, Oppenheimer, or any of his other films were released as trailers, people were unbelievably excited. Always a positive response, an overwhelming amount of likes. Yet now, we're seeing Christopher Nolan get hated on by everyone. It's got so bad that he even had to do a 60 minutes appearance just to save face. So really, what is going on here? Why does everyone hate Christopher Nolan now? What has happened to Christopher Nolan? On the surface, this might just look like the usual anger over race swapping. Black actors like Travis Scott shoved into an ancient European epic to appease the Black Lives Matter section of society. Lupita's casting as Helen has earned the moniker Helen of Detroit. But this isn't really the heart of the problem. Many people say Homer never actually physically described Helen, beyond the most beautiful woman in the world. And most people know ancient Greece was a trading place, with a mishmash of different people. But this really isn't the full reason why people are furious. There's something else going on for people to leave comments like, "This trailer saved my life. I was in a coma, but then I heard it and I got up to switch it off." The comments were really touching on something different about the Odyssey. And it didn't help that the trailer itself was utterly terrible. In fact, it's one of the first times I've ever actually seen the trailer itself just be completely roasted in and of itself. Usually it's kind of weird to feel anything about a trailer. The only other time I've really noticed something like this is with Snow White. Usually they're just the most predictable, formulaic medium in film. Usually it's just 2 minutes of random dialogue without context, plenty of quick cuts, and a glimpse of the cast. But this one in particular just is so bland and awful. In 2 minutes, it showcases exactly what everyone dreads this production would become. It showcased that Hollywood had finally gotten to Christopher Nolan, as people saw the flashes of the very thing they've come to hate about Hollywood. Now, of course, like we mentioned earlier, a big part of this is the race placement. Non-white actors are given roles that people feel really don't historically fit. Then there's just the pure annoyance over Elliot Page's inclusion, where it almost feels like they're shoehorning her in to tick a diversity box. Then there's Travis Scott, and the Zendaya Tom Holland effect. These two just seem to be in everything, forced upon us without anyone really liking these people to begin with. No one really remembers them at being good at anything. And honestly, they're just boring to watch with the same facial expressions and mannerisms. It seems like their fame was just completely engineered out of a studio, not really fueled by any talent or audience adoration. But all these things really just indicate the real problem with the Odyssey: authenticity. It looks just as if these decisions have been made because they would be popular with societal trends and Hollywood studios, rather than because they're really aligned with the purpose of the story. The main thing Christopher Nolan is famous for to begin with: focusing purely on the story and nothing else. And while it was never fair that the English accent had to be the default ancient epic accent in films, it did really help to create a sense of period drama that we can all recognize. So it just feels jarring when you have two English actors playing Greeks using generic modern US accents, especially when they're using modern words whose purpose only serves to drag the viewer out of the story and remind them they're watching the famous actors.
My dad is coming home.
You're pining for a daddy you didn't even know. Like some sniveling bastard.
Another moment shows Matt Damon shouting "Let's go" to his troops in a way that's more Saving Private Ryan than ancient Greece. These are just small details, but they really speak to the bigger point. Films, especially blockbusters, used to be where we'd all go on the weekends to escape for a bit. Not everyone feels the need to see our modern society reflected back in a 3,000-year-old story about Greeks. In this case, language doesn't need to be modernized. Like audiences won't understand what's going on if Odysseus yells "advance" instead of "let's go." Now, we've already mentioned why some of the casting is rubbing people the wrong way, but when you watch the trailer, it really is striking how fake it all feels. It's probably what has made people feel like Christopher Nolan has finally succumbed to the Hollywood machine, the one guy who was supposed to never fall for this trap. His ensemble isn't just a cast of actors, it's really just a bunch of A-listers thrown together cynically to appeal to the widest cross-section of modern society today. You see, really, one of the worst things about this to me is that for no artistic reason whatsoever, we have rapper Travis Scott with his zero acting ability and Nolan clutching at straws trying to justify his inclusion, being supposedly a homage to ancient oral traditions' evolution into modern rap. But Travis Scott is just a huge name that you stick on your brand if you want to make money. It's why he was the face of McDonald's. Because he's not known for his lyrical skills, he's known for selling out shows, his adverts with brands, his collabs with Nike, and generally making businesses rich through his massive popularity. So in this context, in this film, he honestly just feels like a commercial gimmick that was supposed to get young people on Nolan's side, but then instead contributed to the massive pressure the film is now under. Then we have the Hollywood power couple Tom Holland and Zendaya. And then what follows is basically just a list of Marvel superhero actors, like we're at Michael Rubin's White Party. As some people have noted, it's only really missing Pedro Pascal for Hollywood slot bingo. So it's not surprising these decisions have provoked a serious identity crisis about what the film is actually trying to achieve. And that's why people are so disappointed at Christopher Nolan. He's supposed to be the antidote to this race to the bottom of creativity. If we can't even trust Christopher Nolan to be original and defy studio demands for a rapper with a Nike shoe range to be cast to broaden appeal, then we admit that there's not much left propping up the film industry, all beyond the trends that hollowed it out in the first place. The biggest trend that destroyed Hollywood was simply replacing creatives with shareholders. It's the reason Obsession and The Backrooms did so well, because finally it was the only films that seemed actually authentic. No one wants to see these blockbusters like Star Wars, Marvel, and this slop anymore, because these investors want to know statistically that a film they're investing in has a broad enough social appeal that they'll make enough profit on it. The film is purely a product. And the Odyssey just reflects the worst of this modern trend. I mean, it almost seems archaic to think that not so long ago, filmmakers had to achieve that just by making a good film. And it's probably why the trailer has almost 700,000 dislikes right now. And of course, Elon Musk delivered the final blow by giving this character assessment of Tom Holland. Tom Holland is a cuck. Tom Holland then responded to this comment, but it didn't really fill us with confidence. But Elon Musk aside, it really shows that we need independent films more than ever now. Obsession did so well due to the exact anxieties people feel about the Odyssey. Bypassing the traditional gatekeepers means creating films that aren't steered by something bigger than themselves. They're not just purely profit driven. And while something like Obsession or The Backrooms won't make as much money as The Odyssey, it will outperform it on returns by orders of magnitude. while also resonating with the audience for the first time in years. Which is just one of the worst things about this, because epic myths like Homer's Odyssey are meant to be deeply symbolic, one of the most powerful, important, emotional stories that transcended human history, dealing with the spirit of adventure, the tension between good and evil, and great heroes prevailing against all odds. This should be one of the most powerful, meaningful films ever created. Yet it seems like Christopher Nolan's Odyssey could be symbolic for all the wrong reasons. It's come to symbolize the power of the modern Hollywood establishment, the need to pack films full of gimmicks to give them mass appeal. The trailer has been absolutely blasted, the most disliked trailer of all time, with people watching it mainly to look through the comments rather than watch the trailer itself. There is more Greek in the yogurt in my fridge than in this movie. Peak Hollywood garbage. And once you realize this is based on the feminist interpretation of the Odyssey, it's really hard to see this film being something worth watching.